Hey there. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into a bunch of recent articles, reports, all focused on crypto.
hmm
Think of this as, a quick way to get up to speed on what these specific sources are saying right now.
Absolutely. And it's quite a mix we've got. There's stuff on corporate moves, market indicators, even some political commentary, and specific project news.
Right.
So it's not just about price charts. It's like a broader snapshot of activity.
Yeah, and a couple things really jumped out from the sources, like some big corporate treasury news, 9 figures mentioned,
hmm
and that political comment too. It's definitely interesting stuff. Okay, let's unpack this.
That's good.
So maybe let's kick things off with what the sources are highlighting in the corporate world.
Okay.
There's this one article talking about VivoPower. They apparently secured quite a bit of funding, $121 million.
That's right. $121 million. And the crucial detail, the really interesting part from the source, is why. It's specifically to develop an XRP Treasury.
An XRP Treasury.
Okay. Yeah, so this isn't just, a company maybe buying a little crypto. The sources frame it as dedicated money secured just to build XRP into their financial strategy.
Right, like a core part of their operations.
Exactly. It suggests maybe a more long-term strategic view on crypto for managing their funds, not just like a quick investment.
And that wasn't the only one, was it? The sources mentioned Metaplanet, too.
Correct. Metaplanet issued bonds, $21 million worth.
And zero-interest bonds, the articles noted.
Zero interest, yeah. And again, it's the purpose that's key here, the stated reason to buy Bitcoin.
And Evo funds snapped them all up, apparently.
Fully subscribed, yes. So if you put that next to the VivoPower news,
You see a pattern.
kind of, yeah. Different companies, different methods. One
Yeah.
gets direct funding, the other issues bonds. But both seem to be using financial tools specifically to increase their corporate crypto holdings.
Bitcoin in one case, XRP in the other.
Precisely. It suggests these aren't just passive things sitting on the side. The sources paint them as deliberate moves to make these assets part of their corporate treasury, more than just trading chips.
Okay, interesting. So shifting from those corporate strategies, what about market dynamics? The sources touched on XRP again, right?
They did. One piece mentioned XRP analyst views, predicting, quote, massive gains.
Massive gains. Always bold predictions.
Well, yeah, you always have to take analyst views with a grain of salt, obviously. But the source also reported a surge in Binance whale activity for XRP.
Whale activity, so big holders making moves.
That's the implication, yeah. So again, these are reports of activity and predictions, but taken together, the sources suggest a focus on potential bullish moves and significant action from major players around XRP.
Which raises questions about how much weight to give predictions versus actual, observed trading.
Exactly, it's that classic tension.
Now, the sources also brought up another coin, KASPA.
Yeah.
K-A-S.
Mm-hmm.
KASPA. There was a report mentioned saying its supply lockup near 70%. 70% lockup. So what does that imply, according to the source?
Well, think about it. If 70% of the total KAS supply is locked up, meaning it's not available to be sold on the market.
Less supply available to trade.
Right, dramatically less. And the source suggests this directly leads to reduced selling pressure, basic supply and demand, really.
Less selling pressure could mean what? Price stability? Or strength?
The source used a word like strength, implying a more positive condition for the market. It's focusing on supply metrics, not just price action as an indicator, which is an interesting angle.
Got it. Okay, there was also this comparison in one source that caught my eye. It put SUI, SOL, and block DAG side by side.
Ah, yes, I saw that one.
And the claim was basically SUI and SOL are doing well, gaining, but block DAG, its explosive ROI potential outpaces them both. Quite a statement.
It is a bold claim. And the source tries to back it up by pointing to BlockDAG's pre-sale performance.
Right, those numbers. What were they again? $10 million raised in just 7 days recently?
Yeah, pretty rapid growth. And that was on top of a total pre-sale figure hitting $273 million, according to another article.
$273 million in total pre-sale. Wow.
So the sources are definitely highlighting these large pre-sale numbers. A pre-sale is selling tokens before they hit the main exchanges.
Right, early funding.
Exactly. So pulling in that kind of money before a wider launch, especially the $10 million in a week part, is presented in these articles as evidence of strong, what did they call it? developer traction and buyer momentum.
And based on that, they're suggesting it has more ROI potential than established coins like SUI and SOL.
That's the argument presented in the source, yes, based purely on that early pre-sale success and momentum.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. There was a different kind of source mentioned a quote from the U.S. Vice President.
Yeah, that was interesting. A direct quote reported in one of the articles.
Well, what was it exactly? Something about mainstream adoption.
The quote provided was, "Crypto and digital assets, especially Bitcoin, have become part of the mainstream economy and are here to stay."
Here to stay. That's pretty direct language from that level of politics.
It is, and it's significant because it's, well, a VP explicitly saying crypto, particularly Bitcoin, is mainstream and permanent.
What do you make of that contextually?
Well, the source just gives the quote, but you could interpret it a few ways, right? Maybe it signals growing acceptance, maybe it's acknowledging the need for clearer regulation now, or maybe it just reflects that crypto lobbying is getting more effective. But regardless of the why, the fact that such a statement is being made and reported on, it definitely underscores that crypto isn't some fringe thing anymore, according to these sources. It might hint at shifting government views, perhaps.
Interesting point. Okay, and just one more specific item from the Sources Project news about Ripple.
Right. Ripple's stablecoin, RLUSD, the news was about it getting listed on Euler Finance.
Euler Finance.
Yeah.
That's a DeFi platform, lending and borrowing.
Exactly. It's a decentralized lending protocol. So listing RLUSD there is about giving it more places to be used within that DeFi world.
Expanding its utility.
Pretty much. The source mentioned the goal was to diversify lending and borrowing solutions. So for RLUSD users, maybe more ways to earn interest or use it as collateral. For Euler, it's another asset on their platform.
This shows ongoing development, integration within DeFi.
Yeah, established players still building out the plumbing, you could say.
Okay, so let's just recap quickly. Looking back at all this material, it's quite a range. We had those big corporate treasury stories, VivoPower's $121 million for XRP, Metaplanet's $21 million bond for Bitcoin. Then the market analysis bits the XRP analyst views and whale activity reports, Caspa's supply lockup nearing 70%, and of course those really eye-popping block DAG pre-sale numbers, $273 million total, $10 million in a week.
Right. Plus that significant political quote from the U.S. Vice President about crypto being mainstream and permanent.
And wrapped up with specific project development, like Ripple's RLUSD getting listed on Euler Finance to expand its DeFi presence.
Yeah, it really does paint a picture, doesn't it? All this activity reported across different areas, seemingly happening all at once. It does. These sources, when you put them together like this, they suggest momentum isn't just in one corner of the crypto world. It seems to be happening in corporate finance, in market speculation, getting attention politically, and the tech keeps integrating.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating snapshot based on the material you shared.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the source material today.
My pleasure. Always interesting to sift through this stuff. And maybe a final thought, just based on everything we've discussed from these articles, seeing these structured corporate buys, the high-level political acknowledgments, alongside the market predictions and the specific DeFi integrations. What does this particular mix of activity reported today suggest to you about the current, maybe, maturity level of the crypto market right now? Something to think about.